evening, everybody. Welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here and Jack Clement. All the lights are currently lit here on track. And it is go, go, go!
Down through the Mercedes teammate.
Denoso with a crafty manoeuvre up the inside. Masterclass from the Chilean.
Crucial championship points on offer here.
Do not count out Danny Berezne.
Longe has done the job. This is for the win between these two.
Freddie Rasmussen wins the United States Grand Prix.
Alfie Butcher wins for the first time ever. Lucas Blakely takes the championship. It's Barry Boyman.
Jarno Opmeer is your champion.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again. Welcome back to PSGL, and here at PCF3 we've got a great round of tonight. We're off to the Netherlands. My name is Ben Sapsford, and of course joining us in the commentary box it is going to be Omi. How are you doing, my friend? Good to have you as always.
Yes, great to be here, as normal. Looking forward to another round here at PSGL F3. A lot has gone on in the few days that we've had after the last race at Silverstone. What a last race it was at Silverstone. Looking forward to more of the same here today.
Well, we've got much to look forward to, but we have some interesting news for those who have been keeping an eager eye on the standings. Now, you may see at the top of that list, Gabriel Quintino, and that blue text says promoted. Following his recent string of performances, it was decided in the best interests of F3, as well as giving Quintino a chance to really show his stuff. He's been promoted to F2, so he will be joining the F2 crew in an hour's time over with the likes of TK and Alex. So you can catch them straight after this, but with that, the championship fight, as you can see here at the top, has been fully reignited. That gap between first and second is now going to be only 2 points heading into the Netherlands.
Exactly what we saw last season here in F3 as well. First of all, we had, of course, Ben Marples. Then we had Angelo, both of them getting promoted to F2. And we found ourselves with an extraordinary title fight in the final round of F3 last season. And I think this season we might get the same, because drivers who are absolutely extraordinary in this tier do get the opportunity to make the step forward and get used to things in F2. And that's exactly what Gabriel Quintino has been able to do. Flawless when it came to qualifying. The races, he started off this season not being able to always execute the race perfectly. However, once he changed that, it was basically the races were basically like how he managed to do the qualifying sessions. He treated them exactly like the races, and it all clicked for him. And then you're like, well, okay, we do need to promote this driver due to he's absolutely dominating everywhere at every opportunity here in PSGL, grabbing every point that's on the table.
Well, he definitely had that semblance of pace from day one. I mean, that can be exemplified by the fact that out of the 7 races he competed in prior to his promotion, he got pole position in 5 of them. So the pace was definitely on the table. It was just, as you said, all about execution and bringing it home in the race. And once he started to get that consistency under his belt, once P7s, P10s started to become P5s, P1s, that's when the racers took notice and when made the judgment call, as has been seen in seasons prior, to move him up to a more appropriate tier and a more appropriate field so he can be challenged and really put through his paces in a like-minded field. But of course, that does leave more opportunities on the table. It gave a chance for drivers to be switching themselves in and out. So in the place of Gabriel Quintino, do have a few different drivers who are joining us as reserve, but I believe the primary swap was Alexi Cavero. You can see him at the bottom of the standings. He's going to be joining us from this round onwards and filling in that Aston Martin seat. He's got pretty big shoes to fill, I'd say.
pretty big shoes to fill. However, when I was doing a bit of my homework for this week earlier on, I found out that he had a lead of 58 points in F5, and that's exactly why he has come not to F4, but straight up to us here in F3. 58 points is absolutely extraordinary, unthinkable stuff in PSGL. He's absolutely dominated that championship, taking 4 wins as well, having 2 second places and then also a third. But he has absolutely dominated that championship. Him coming here definitely is deserved. Even F4, I think he would have just gone there and just dominated it. Here we might see him be competitive straight away out in front. So I'm really looking forward to him, and I think everyone definitely has to keep a big eye on him after what he showed in F5 just a week ago.
Well, if you have that level of dominance, I think it makes sense to jump the tiers. I mean, we've seen that in the past. I remember a couple of names that have jumped multiple tiers at once. You had, say, drivers from all manner of different teams. I think Sven Schumacher was a name that came to mind. But much earlier seasons, they jumped multiple tiers at a single time in order to get to a point where they were representative of pace. So, good to have you, Cavero. Welcome to F3. We hope you have a good time, and we hope that you have a little bit of a challenge here, because these F3 drivers, they don't mess around. We've seen how much they can push the limits, and sometimes how much they have really come close into that striking distance of the F2 grids.
Yeah, absolutely. He may have been able to wipe the floor with F5, but with F3, it is a step up, and it does mean that the drivers are even more competitive, even more eager as well. All of them trying to progress up to F2 for next season. All of them trying to impress. So definitely the level does step up. And even Gabriel Quintino, he didn't have it easy at all throughout the season. He had different drivers across the 7 rounds that we've had, challenging him all throughout. So even he, with his amazing pace, still was challenged left, right, center. So even if we are going to see Cavero come in and immediately show a lot of pace, he is going to get challenges. He is going to get tested a lot in this tier.
Yeah, he's going to be tested a lot, and he's got a lot of work to do because he's joining halfway through the season. Of course, he's not going to be challenging for that driver's title, but he's still got a few interesting rounds to really make a name for himself. We're here, of course, tonight in Zandvoort, but we've still got Saudi, followed by the festive break, and then it's Japan, Vegas, and Bahrain left in this calendar. So the final 5, it's going to be quite a good selection, I think. I say, barring Vegas, I know it has had a bit of a contentious history in the league racing scene, but I think we are going to be on for a final 5 races to remember for sure.
Just incredible circuits which will deliver us with fantastic racing. We can go anywhere here in PSGL and get treated to some brilliant action, and those final 5 circuits as well will absolutely deliver some races to remember. And with the championship battle reignited, as you mentioned earlier on in the broadcast, it means that there is a lot to fight for these drivers in this field. And we've also seen some of those drivers, Imtiaz, Zorzo, Tulki, all have a few races where they didn't score points or had a few issues all throughout. So if you are like Molnar, you are going to want to try and immediately now be on pace and trying to get every point you can, because I mean he could find himself in championship contention. That's what we were looking at. Quintino, had he stayed in this tier, he would be running away with it, with constantly being at the front, with different drivers all the time being in contention with him. But if you aren't always in that second, third, and you, let's say you have a 7th or something, then it does mean that you are losing points overall to Quintino. That's the situation that we found ourselves in. So if Imtiaz, Zorzo and Tulki do find themselves making a few errors and having those type of moments which they were having in the last few races, it could open the door for one of the drivers behind. But right now we are looking at a 3-way title fight realistically.
It's going to be a great title fight, and things are going to really start to amp up for those 3 who are now going to be assuming the championship podium at this stage of the season. Of course, we are about to jump into quali now, but of course we've got to talk about Zandvoort. It's a racing track that is steeped in history, and I would say one of the most unique tracks on the calendar. If nothing else, it has its defining features. You have, of course, the very cambered, almost roller coaster-like characteristics, but you've also got mixed in there some genuine technical sections. I mean, I look in particular to the likes of Sector 2. Sector 2 turn 6 through 10. That is deceptively difficult as far as track goes to get right.
Technical, tight, old school type of circuit, as you mentioned. Executing this place is definitely very tricky, and it does mean that throughout the 18 minutes of qualifying, which does award a point for our pole sitter, is going to be a challenge, and we're going to see constant improvements and hopefully constant changes as well throughout the field in it. So really looking forward to this, and yeah, as you mentioned, so many different type of hard corners, meaning that there is a lot of time to find for these drivers, and we are going to see a couple of mistakes from the drivers in the early part of the session, but it's all going to be about improving that and looking forward and pushing on as well, but continuing to find the time as the session goes on definitely will be critical, and sometimes even going over the white lines and losing the lap time also can play a part, as it usually does in PSGL qualifying.
Well, we're about to jump into said qualifying, and this is where we pass it over to you in the live chat. If you have any predictions as to who's going to come out on top in pole, who is going to really show us some performance in the race, we'd love to hear from you. As always, get your thoughts down in that chat below. And with that in mind, we are going to be going trackside in just a moment. We're going to see what these racers are capable of. And as things start to get a little bit heated up, you've got a few drivers who are rushing out immediately. And first out on the track, it's going to be Diego Zorzo.
Absolutely. Out onto the circuit, Diego Zorzo nets second place in the title battle, and the Haas driver, who has been known as, from his F4 campaign last season around, as a all-round complete driver, looking to prove that once again, looking to try and win this championship as well. And if he can win this championship, he'll definitely be looking to move forward to F2 and continue to impress there as well. But right now, all focus will be on trying to nail these final few races and try and get this championship. Means a lot to these drivers to win at such a high level of league racing. Right now, though, he's making his way to the banked corner and about to head down to turn number 1.
Let's see what Zorzo can do here. A lot of pressure on his shoulders, considering he is going to be the man to beat by many counts. Heading into the first corner, a little bit of scrub on the inside tyre, but keeping it consistent and keeping it smooth all the way through. Then you head into the iconic turn 3, very steeply banked, really putting the pressure on those outside tyres as you get the weight of the car to shift around before you head down into the end of Sector 1 and started to go into Sector 2, diving the car down. You can hear the engine doing a lot of the braking work for him as he heads through. Now, down through turns 7 to 9, so arcing out wide as you can before snatching it back inside and then swinging your car right back round. Careful not to kick out the rear here, it's all too easy to do so if you don't precariously manage that throttle pedal. The loud pedal, of course, being the bane of many drivers, because a little bit too much, you get that car spun, and it's very difficult to recover. We see a little bit of a wobble there for Zorzo, but he keeps it in control very nicely. Unfortunately, invalidates on the exit of the final corner, and that is going to be a instant jumping into the pits, but he's not the only one who's gone out there. We've got Thomas Laminen, who is going to be committed just behind Marcel Biega. 108.5, 108.4 coming in from Laminen, 108.3 coming from Simeone. Many drivers immediately starting to make a serious statement out on that course. Larry Tulke, another leader in this championship, 0.236. Balint Lalekes coming up to the line, 0.356, and many other drivers going within those couple of tenths range. Couple of duds in there, but Tulke setting the initial pace.
Tulke, the driver to beat at this stage. We have got 11 proper lap times currently on the board at this stage. We will be looking to push on. Zorzo, Ranieri and Donovan will be also looking to get a time on the board. And well, we mentioned it last time out as well, but Diego Zorzo continuing with that strategy of being the first car out. Of course, Haas being near the end of the pit lane does help, but he always likes, doesn't matter what run it is, to be the first car out. And remember, there is no slipstream to be given, as we have collisions that have been turned off, meaning that there is zero advantage that we may have even had if collisions were turned on. So going forward, going first is definitely a good strategy, meaning no distractions. While drivers can't collide with each other, it can be a huge distraction, as proven throughout this season for the drivers in this field. If they are having to go through cars on their push lap, so he wants to be the first one out there as usual and the first one to push and set the time on the board. And he's back out there again as he tries to get that lap time on the board.
Unfortunately, that invalidation just coming out and through the final sector there, it has put him a little bit on edge. He can see the majority of the field has already put a time down, and it's a little bit sparser of a field this time. We have been told that multiple drivers are still suffering from technical issues or performance issues, in part related to the latest patch, so hopefully they get that resolved, and hopefully the drivers can rejoin us on the track as soon as possible, because we always want to see a full grid. We've got a few reserves out here tonight, but of course, we want to see those mainstays. We want to see the full grid out in action. Like Zorzo here, he's got a second chance at it. He's got a mostly clear track. He's going to have a Red Bull and a McLaren just a bit further up the road. But we'll see what he's capable of here, faced with a little bit of distraction. And I think you are right. He's a driver who loves to be unencumbered. No slipstream to gain, so having the other drivers ahead of you is only going to pose as a bit of visual noise that he has to tune his mind away from.
Absolutely. Well, let's see what he's going to be able to do this time around on this lap. And it's a 24.023 in the first sector. Now we're through some of the fast and tight parts of this circuit as well, as he's going to rotate the car through. Then we're going to head over to our back straight, which if a driver does find themselves near the back, might need to even use that corner to try and make some desperate moves to get themselves up through the field, as we now head down to said braking zone. And we're about to go through to the final corner on this circuit, the part of the circuit where we saw the invalidation. Last time around, he'll be looking to keep it inside track limits. This time around, not running out too wide. DRS is going to be open. Let's see what Diego Zorzo can do as he comes over the line. And it's going to be the lap that will make it a Haas 1-2, as he's the second driver to go into the point twos. It's a 1 minute 8.210, and the two Hasses, who were separated by quite literally nothing. They had the identical time last time out in qualifying. Right now, find themselves topping the board.
Yeah, I'll say 1-2 for the Haas is going to be a solid statement to the rest of the field. And while not quite that exact identical, it's certainly a testament to both of their pace, and they are going to relish in it for the time being. We've got a couple of drivers who have yet to set a time. Pasquale Ranelli, for instance, is going to be one of those drivers, and did join a little bit later into the session along with Lennox Donovan, who's in the pits currently. Not sure if they're going to be going out on track for a shot at this grid. We have Justin Ertz, who has joined, who will be joining us from the race, but I believe will only be starting at best in P16, given that they have not made the start of qualifying. Permission was given due to outside issues for them to join after quali and just start from the back of the grid. So they're going to have quite a difficult job ahead of them. But Ranelli now coming through. Final couple of corners, pushing through. And you can see as he fires himself through one of the other cars, the best he can do here is a 109.1. So a lap to forget here for the Mercedes, and hopefully a bit of an improvement to come. As we can see, a couple of other cars making their way through now. Reyes Imtiaz, a 0.248. Laminin got a 0.251. Few more racers who have just closed up on time, who have started a full core run. Damien Curiel coming up to the line here. And oh, big wobble on the final corner. That is certainly going to be an abandon, and we see that come to pass.
Absolutely. Ranieri still yet to finish a race in this season as well. Was unable to attend two races that he was scheduled for. DNF'd in the other two as well. He is one of our reserves this season. As we take a look at Buba, currently 10th place in the championship. Definitely the highlight of his season being the opening round, where he was able to secure a second place as well. That was a race that was transformed due to the virtual safety car completely changing up the balance of the type of race that it was turning out to be. So that definitely changed it up, as we now take a look at Sasha Neeb. And Sasha Neeb currently with 6 points to his name, 2 times in the point scoring positions, wants to make it 3 with less drivers. It does open the door, and it does open the opportunity for drivers to try and get some of those points as Neeb comes into the pit lane.
Yeah, so there's plenty of opportunity out there to really upset the field in a way. as we have only 2 drivers who are out on the course still. We have Zach Miles, who has just not long made their way out. You have Linus Donovan, who 8 minutes left to go, has joined the session and has now got their way onto the track to really put a time down on quali. And we've got Diego Zorzo, still up ahead with a 0.210, but we have got, of course, many drivers closing in. Balance got a 227. Reyes Imtiaz got a 0.248. So the window is closing, the track is evolving, and he's going to have to adapt in pretty sharp fashion.
Indeed. Here we go. Over the line with the Haas man down to Tarzan corner he goes, and Diego Zorzo looking to try and improve on the lap. Still right now, the topper off the timing board, he'll look to try and take it further away as he sends it into turn number 3. Now we'll get back on the power and through these fast part of this circuit as well, the fast section. And then he'll be heading to some tight corners. Up by 700ths of a second. That's exactly what he needs. Just pushing on further. Just increasing his advantage and taking it further away from the field in this session. And then he'll have a couple more corners to navigate. We'll get the Sector 2 time in a few moments as well to see whether he's been able to keep the 700th advantage that he had when he left the first sector. It's slightly reduced, but it's still up.
It's still up here, and it could be on the books for a 0.1 if he can link it all together. That Sector 2 is going to be a little bit problematic for him there, but holds his nerve, holds his tongue all the way through. Final corner now, you can see the car rattling a little bit of where he's got it set up, but goes for a solid line. Unfortunately, it's 3 milliseconds shy. That first sector could have been the one, as that was the fastest first sector of the course. And you want to know who we got the exact same sector 1 time with? His teammate, Larry Tilke.
Here we go. Haas setting identical times once more. And it's definitely getting very interesting between those 2 drivers. They are very evenly matched, as proven last time, and it continues to be proven with sector times. Here is Zach Miles, back racing, back now to the top 10, but he would definitely want to be higher than that. Immediately displaced, as he's now dropping down to 11th position. As we take a look at our lobby host now, Marcel Biega also, who is returning today, currently in 12th. Let's see whether he can continue on the improvement, as he's going to back out of it. So he's just going to back out of it this time around, not the lap time that he would have found it. So he's not invalidated. It was just a mistake that he wouldn't have wanted, as Larry Tulke keeps it a Haas 1-2, but is going to now be ahead of Diego Zorzo. Let's see whether Thomas Laminen can say something about it.
Well, Thomas Laminen is going to be setting up for this lap. I think he took an extra out lap here, and he is going to be making this the one that counts. Few drivers now heading in to the pit lane and getting themselves set up for what could be final runs in some cases. You got Sammy Simeone, who just went through with a 0.206, so just displacing previous pole position holder of Zorzo down into 3rd place. We keep our eyes firmly trained on the McLaren, however. A little bit down in Sector 1, but has a chance to make it back in Sector 2. You can see Zach Miles now heading into the pits as one of the Red Bulls has just got themselves out for another go. Pasquale Ranelli is going to just pip out lobby host Biega by a couple of hundredths, and Balint is going to be, in fact, say it was my mistake, it was Booba who started the lap, as Balint has gone with a 0.180, so they have dominated, particularly that final sector, absolutely nailed the line through, and that has gained them a healthy lead by 14 milliseconds from Larry Tilke. But we'll see, can Laminen make this one work? It's going to be an abandon from Laminen, and this is going to be a final test for many, as we will see most of them now heading back after a run completed. And final setup now is going to be in effect for that quote-unquote banzai heading into the final stretch.
Exactly. Final run coming up for these drivers. A critical run as well in this session, as we're also going to get the Red Bull of Booba 7th right now, who is going to dive it into the pit lane, checking up on the driver who has a 58-point lead coming into this round in the F5 Championship. He may still win that championship while being promoted up all the way to F3. Utter domination by him, and he right now finds himself in 10th position And he'll be just trying to get settled in and then push on in the races as well. And it'll be slightly different for him. He's found himself qualifying absolutely well in F5, and he could just push on in the races, try break that 1 second gap. Here he finds himself in the mid pack, having to do some overtaking to try and get to the front as well. And with drivers also driving possibly a little bit more aggressively at times, as they're all a little bit more eager, definitely in this tier, all trying to prove a point. So definitely a bit of a different approach for Carrero coming up, as Biega will also be coming into the pit lane. But the driver who loves starting runs is back out there again. Diego's also looking to push on once more.
Well, he's going to be joined by Linus Donovan, who managed to get a .449 and push himself into 9th position on the grid, alongside Ranelli, who is going to be, I think, coming out in a second. So a couple of drivers who, of course, came in a little bit late, have had to start on the back foot, but they've recovered themselves fairly nicely. Biego's managed to drop a 10th off his previous time, so he's up now into P12, and many other drivers have got some work to do. Zorzo, of course, coming into this with a relative stranglehold on the field, but has now been displaced down to P4. So with 2.5 minutes to go, this realistically is going to be the final run for our drivers here. They're not going to have another chance to go out again, and they're going to be running very slow on the track in order to get that car into an optimal position, ready for this final flyer, as Zorzo is hopefully about to demonstrate. He's flying his way down the start-finish straight. Let's see what he can do.
Here we go then. Time to push for Diego Zorzo. Once a time topper in this session, now down in 4th, is going to have a couple of cars ahead as they're on their out lap. They will be building up to their push lap next time around, and these distractions will definitely not help at such a tight part of the circuit. Out of the way, luckily for him, was the Mercedes. Let's see the first sector time. It's 600ths up. But the critical thing will be Sappy is the second and third sector, because last time around we saw him up in the first sector, but he lost it in the second and third.
Yeah, he needs to link those two sectors at the end together to make this really a perfect lap for himself. I wonder if he's tinkered with his setup at all. Maybe he's not as aggressive on the wings. He's letting the camber of the circuit do a lot of the driving work for him. But saying that, he's over a 10th down. He could make this a magical lap. He just needs to make this Sector 3 absolutely work. He's going to bring it round the final couple of corners. He's going to open up the taps, coming across the curbs. Remember, this is make or break. Final run, 60 seconds and counting up to the line here. It's going to be a .083. Zorzo is your pole position holder with 50 seconds to go, though. The session is still young. Drivers making their way up to the line. That's both Mercedes crossing over. That's going to be Linus Donovan with a .204. He's going to be making a healthy comeback from a relatively back foot start. You got Zach Miles, who just came through into 8th position. You got Balance, who is setting up, but you've also got the other Red Bull. Booba is going to be in P7 as Laminin just crosses the line into P6. And then with 20 seconds to go, drivers need to get across that line now if they want that shot. Simeone barely able to make it in with 12 seconds to spare.
Simeone will be the last driver to come over the line as he tries to find an extraordinary lap at the end to get himself to the front of the field. As we take a look at Larry Tulki as he makes his way through. Checkered flag is out. It's Zorzo right now at the front of the field with a .083. We join Carraro, who is up as he tries to get into the top 10. Let's see what he can do. DRS wide open as he makes his way through the banked corner. And now we'll be taking the shortest route to the line. Let's see what can he find with this improvement to the line. It's good enough for 7th place. So we have Carraro going up to 7th, and we're still going to have multiple laps coming to the line right now. Here we go with Elikas. Can he find the time at the end? No. He's down by a 10th of a second. Tulki still pushing on, and he is up by a 10th. So it's looking good for the Haas driver. Haas have been performing absolutely incredibly in this season so far. Zorzo's right now got P1. Can Tulki join him? On the front row is the question. DRS open. Let's see what he's going to be able to do. Coming up to the line. Can Tulki get to the front row? Can he get to pole? He can get to pole. A super time as he gets out of his teammate, and also getting ahead. We've got the 3 championship contenders, 1, 2, and 3 at this stage, as Imtiaz is into 2nd, and here is Imtiaz's teammate coming into the pit lane. Brilliant stuff from Tulki, who is going to be on pole, and it's absolutely brilliant to see all the title contenders together, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
And in a bit of a twist of fate, say Torquay takes top, Zorzo being demoted down to the bottom of that order when it comes to championship protagonists. But the margins are so fine here. We are talking about half a tenth of a second between first and third, between these top rivals, and they are going to be bringing their absolute A game here. But you can see the final order. It's going to be a last-minute swing and a success for Torquay, with Imtiaz lining up alongside him in the front row. Row 2 is going to be Zorzo and Alekis, with Donovan and Simeone taking row 3. Row 4 is going to be Laminin and new arrival Cavero, with a very strong initial quali showing, followed by Buba and Damien Curiel. And then rounding off your order, you have Derbacourt, Miles, Neeb, Biega, and then Pasquale Renele, about half a second adrift of the course and of our drivers here. So I've got to say, very impressed with the quali runs, very impressed with what these drivers have been able to put down, as we are going to be restarting the lobby ahead of the race.
Incredible qualifying session we have just seen, and it leaves us set for some contest of racing coming our way. Really excited for this one to get going. Zorzo, I think, will be pretty happy with this qualifying, considering he said to us a few rounds ago as well that Zandvoort is not one of a strong circuit, so it looks like he has definitely got that practice in and is performing absolutely brilliantly. So he will be a contender, and a bit more of a contender than he may have thought he would have coming into this round.
Yeah, well, I'll say plenty of good contenders, I think, out here tonight, and we will see that come in full force in just a moment, folks. We are going to take a short break to allow our drivers to reset the lobby, to turn collisions back on, and to get ourselves in race-ready conditions, along with setting the grid coming out of qualifying. But while we do that, we are going to take a short word from our good friends over at GT Omega, make PSGL possible. So don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back with you. And welcome back, folks. Of course, do support the people who support us. We use code PSGL at checkout. You can get a healthy discount off of any GT Omega products. So be sure to go and check them out, whether you need rigs or whether you need a comfortable seat to race with. They're your people. But let's look at the standings and see, of course, coming out of the qualifying, where we currently are. So we have Imtiaz second in quali and second in the championship, although technically is going to be in first place following Quintino's promotion. Followed closely by Zorzo, who's in third, and then Torquay taking the pole position and netting himself a nice extra point there, before you start to see a much larger points gap, with Molnar down at 36 and Laminin at 32. But I've got to say, Laminin, I think, is a little bit underrated here, because he's certainly brought some pace. He knows how to get elbows out a little bit when it comes to race time. And we saw in Silverstone, he managed to get a second place spot, so the pace is there for him to be nearer the top.
Yeah, let's see if he can get a bit of a run going. He's now got his first podium of the season. Let's see whether he can keep it going now and continue to get a few more podiums as well, and enter himself in the conversation. And as I mentioned earlier on as well, absolutely possible that if we do see our top three contenders in this championship suffer with a few moments, whether that is disconnections like Zorzo had in Canada, technical issues which a lot of drivers are, of course, suffering with as well in this round. So whether it's something like that, whether it's a moment on the circuit, there is definitely still opportunities for other drivers to join this championship battle as well. So a really critical part of the season, and Laminin, even if it's not for the championship, just basically for pride and of course trying to prove a point to try get into F2 for next season, we'll definitely want to try and continue this run of second places, hopefully also getting a win as well. He'll be hoping as well. So definitely Thomas Laminin, a driver to keep an eye on.
Yeah, so he's certainly going to be a driver to watch here, and a driver who has shown some serious pace, like we said, at points. But it's just about, say, bringing that consistency forward, bringing those points forward, and hopefully we get to see a bit of momentum come into force with that. But we have, of course, many other drivers to watch out for. Something I've kind of noticed, something I found quite curious, is we look at the qualies and we look at the amount of drivers that are out there on track tonight. I think we've got over half of the drivers who are part of FVR. So FVR sweep incoming. Like the top drivers, they are all running that FVR tag.
Yeah, absolutely. So it does look like that F3 are kind of taking over this F3 tier at this stage as well. So yeah, definitely what it looks like by the grid that we've got tonight of drivers, and it'll be interesting to see what they're able to come up with in the race, and of course all of the other drivers rivaling them as well. So yeah, cannot wait for this one to begin. I think it's definitely going to be a tough one. If you are starting a little bit more further back, it will definitely need some overtaking prowess to find a way by, and with how tight the circuit is, we can easily see contact at any point. So it's going to be a risk versus reward style race, and lap 1 critical also to try gain a couple of positions, but you can't risk it all. You can't risk it all on lap 1, as we've seen multiple times this season. Front wings can be lost on the opening lap, and races can be ruined.
Oh, I see a bit of FVR love in the chat, and of course you've got many drivers representing in that regard. We of course have other teams that are present as well, but that seems to be the dominating presence here out in F3 tonight, as you said. We've got a lot of eyes certainly on that part of things, and with that all being said, I think we are going to be in the race very soon. So just a reminder of the kind of track we are up against. It is of course Zandvoort. It's a 4.25 kilometer monster of a track, a cambering roller coaster. I can't remember the actual its precise camber, but I'm pretty sure that it is by far the most extreme that you get these F1 cars around at any one time. And I've got to say that the unique characteristic of the circuit and the way it does curve and camber around, it's quite hard to train for, because you got to think about how the banking is affecting the driver's downforce and the driver's grip levels.
Yeah, we've already mentioned multiple times a hard circuit to nail. Definitely lots of practice does need to go into nailing a circuit like this and executing it to absolute perfection in a field where you cannot afford to be a little bit down on performance. Of course, with how everyone is close, you're immediately going to be punished when the gaps are thousands of seconds, is thousands, of course, and hundreds all the way through. So it's just so close in this field, meaning that you do need to put some of the preparation in, because quite literally, if you're a 10th down, it could be all the way down in 14th at some circuits. We even see like at circuits, of course, like Austria. So definitely the preparation for the drivers is key in executing a perfect PSGL season.
Yeah, well, I'll say, and particularly here in Zandvoort, that banking can be your greatest friend, but it can also be your greatest enemy. You place that car wrong, you take a bit too much speed, and I almost compare it to if you're going around the carousel at the Nordschleife. If you misjudge your speed, if you misjudge your angle, you're going to get spat out prematurely. You're going to be offline for the rest of the circuit, and you're going to be in a bit of trouble. Of course, the Nordschleife is a completely different beast of a track, but that particular section is a bit of a skill check when it comes to banking, and Zandvoort is no different in that regard. The drivers need to use the banking to their advantage, but don't let yourself be almost overconfident in that banking just carrying you through. It will spit you out. It will put you in a difficult spot, especially if you're fighting with other cars. And when you look to that second sector, if you don't get that sixth corner right, you're going to be in a little bit of bother when you come to defend from other cars. But we are going to the race now. So, of course, coming out that quali, folks, that's where we pass it over to you, as always, in the live chat. Get your predictions in for who you think is going to win the race. Get your thoughts in for who you want to see do well out on track. I've already seen a little bit of positive feedback for some of our drivers, but we want everyone to put down who you think is going to be the driver to watch or the driver who's going to take it here tonight in the Netherlands. And I'm going to pass that question to you as well, Omi, while we get loaded in.
Well, quite interesting. Well, is that type of is that time that we is that time that I start naming every single driver? But yeah, I think definitely I'll limit it down. I think it's going to be one of our championship contenders, so Imtiaz or Tulki, I believe, who are going to take it. But it's PSGL, so it literally could be quite literally anyone, including a person who didn't participate in qualifying. We could even see Justin Ayat, who might to just step forward and take it. It's just that type of field. It's just that type of racing that we get here in PSGL. So yeah, I'll not just start naming every single driver, but I'll narrow it down for you. I'll narrow it down to the top 3 on the grid as well, and I think we're gonna get a brilliant fight between them all throughout the race, and hopefully some other drivers also getting involved in some of the battling.
Well, fair enough. I mean, I'm personally going to be keeping an eye on Imtiaz. He's very hungry for it. He's made his intentions very clear with the season. And with Quintino's promotion, it has been almost a new lease of life, as what could have been the season getting away from him is now going to be a fresh chance to really set a dominant force and get some momentum heading into the second half of the season. So that Ferrari is going to be one that I'm keeping a strong eye on heading into the Netherlands here. Looks like we are having a bit of an extended time heading into the race here. But never mind, we're going to be just fine. We have the 5 red lights. The track is hot here in the Netherlands for the start of PSGL's PCF3 round. And immediately, and whoa, what has happened here? That is immediate contact. That is a serious problem. Imtiaz and Tulki coming together. He just sweeps across the track there.
Title rivals immediately come together. Diego Zoza says thank you very much. He's got P1. Elek is up to second place, and it's Simeone. But that was a huge dramatic moment between our championship contenders immediately into the wall. And that is not what we expected of the start. And the title rivals find themselves now all over the place as they continue battling in the mid-pack, getting very close. That is going to be Curiel, and he is just trying to stay ahead of Zach Miles. Can the field get through? But who was expecting that straight away? We see contact, and now we're watching with Ray's Imtiaz, who is seeing Booba go the long way round. Tulki is all the way down to 16th. You've got Zorzo in first. You've got Imtiaz right now in the middle. All 3 contenders find themselves at all different places.
Yeah, and this has really gone from 0 to 100 to 0 immediately for both Tulki and Imtiaz. They're both missing several elements of their front wings. They're both going to be completely stuck and really going to struggle to keep that pace up unless they jump into the pit and do something about it now. Imtiaz making the brave choice to stay out on track despite several elements of their wing missing. Tulki being at the bottom of the grid doesn't really have anything to lose with the wing change, but I would seriously be looking to the steward's corner, as that was I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. That was a very poor race start for the front 2.
Absolutely. We always think, especially as the opening lap, you have so much time as well. It always changes. It's not even like real life. It always changes in this race. We get DRS switches absolutely everywhere. We get passing left, right, center like we're seeing right now. You wouldn't expect that much of aggression off the race start as we go 3 wide momentarily, and getting past there is going to be the Mercedes of Ranieri, and we are Justin Ayert's also making his way through, as of course he has his first laps on screen with us today, and it's now a huge opportunity for Zorzo as he tries to keep it clean. But we're on board with the Red Bull that's currently in second place, that's putting alongside, and that is taking the lead. So Balin gets ahead to set the fastest lap of the race and lead on to lap number 3.
I can see the different strategies now that we're a couple of laps in, and the thing that sticks out to me is a mix of soft and medium. You've got the front runners, Alekis and Zorzo, both running soft, trying to get an early breakaway from the field, and really sort of put that higher pace to good use. Hopefully the tyre degradation is in their favour here, because remember, 36 laps, you could make it work with a soft medium, but that will require a little bit of management from the drivers and not overstressing the compounds. Use the banking to do a bit of work. They won't have to push the steering as hard if they just let the corner and let the curvature do a little bit of a easy rider for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So great to see a bit of differing strategy after we have seen across PSGL quite a few times this season. We've had everyone on the same strategy, so we've got that element that is added into play, and we absolutely love having that strategy playing a major part as we come over the line once more. And it will be Zorza who is going to be enjoying life at the moment. You've got a Mercedes going on the attack. That's Debecourt who gets ahead of Sasha Neeb. And you've got another Mercedes heading backwards. And there goes Justin Ayertz immediately on the soft compound tyres and immediately going on the charge. As here is Ranieri. Let's see whether he can get ahead of Zach Miles. Both Ferraris now find themselves down. And yeah, quite surprising that Imtiaz has decided to not come into the pit lane after, of course, as you mentioned, losing a bit of elements of his front wing. So he's deciding to stay out there, and he'll be looking to push on and try maybe repair it once he comes in, but that's still a long way to go. And of course his rival Tulki has come in, as you can see right now at the bottom of screen.
I think he's made a bit of a judgment call here, and I'm not quite sure whether it's the right one. He's losing pace, tenths on tenths per lap, but if it's going to cost more to have a pit stop, then he might as well just tank the damage almost, if I'm going to steal a term from another field. He's going to tank the damage, and he's going to stick, for the most part, to his current strategy, to his current racing strategy and the tyres. He can, of course, come a little bit earlier in on the softs, and then run the mediums to the finish with a bit of conservation, but if he's going to have to take an extra stop, he is going to sink a lot more time than if he was just chip away half a second per lap and then gain it back on the strategy side. There's not going to be much benefit for him going onto the hards, I think. And the hards, as good as they are, they don't really hold that pace very well here at Zandvoort.
So Tulki makes the move, and he gets ahead of Curiel. Those are the two drivers at the back, and Curiel also had to come into the pit lane for something separate that he was involved in on the opening lap, while we were trying to work out what on earth happened between Imtiaz and Tulki on that opening tour of the race, immediately off the line. But now it's a different situation that we find ourselves in, a situation that Diego Zorza absolutely would love if it was to finish like this, but it absolutely won't, because it's PSGL, and we're getting once again another movement out in front as the Red Bull back to P1. So the top two, of course, on the soft, and then Simeone on the mediums, along with Donovan and Thomas Laminin. That's right now your battle between the top five. The train, of course, does extend to Buba and Carraro, who is doing well as well to be in this train on the mediums as he makes the jump up. And Simeone looking to go on the charge, but it's single file stuff through this part of the lap.
Yeah, well, Simeone has got a little bit of a conundrum on his hands. He could go for it, but to be stuck in between the fight for the lead is going to burn out his resources fairly quick. We can let Alekes and Zorzo fight one another, but that means that he's going to be under threat continuously from Donovan, who might be looking to do the same as P1 and 2. So he's trying to hold his balance. Looks like he's having a little bit of a connection hiccup there, as he's just gone through Donovan and down into P4. So not quite sure what happened there. Either way, that is going to be a move for the Aston Martin. If anticlimactic, it's good news for Linus.
Absolutely. Here we go. So Zorzo once again back to P1. Simeone will be disappointed with that one. Meanwhile, it was a very close moment. As you can see, it's still close. Further back, you've got Neeb getting ahead of Tristan Debecourt. You've got Biega getting ahead of Ranieri. So a couple of moves going on throughout this field at this stage as we ride on board with Simeone, who will immediately want to go back on the charge. He at least still find himself in the battle. He's absolutely still in the mix, and this time around it's actually Alekes who is completely pushing Diego Zorzo through these corners at this stage. So these two just enjoying the battle out in front before the medium driver compound runners start to come into play, as we watch Sammy Simeone, a driver who is known for being late on the brakes, and he'll be looking to do more of that to try and get back past and put himself as the leader on those medium compound of tyres.
Yeah, he's want to assert himself as the leader of the medium pack, because that will put him in good stead for the switch over. Of course, stretching out those mediums as far as one possibly can, the hard's just not really being that viable here at Zandvoort. So medium soft is going to be, I think, provided a little bit of conservation, as we said earlier, is going to be the move. But we have a bit of an issue around the field, as we do see Imtiaz now heading into the pits finally. 7 laps in, he's made the conclusion that even with the wing damage, it's not quite going to work. He's taken as much time as he can on those softs, but now he's going to be coming out onto the hards, and this is going to be interesting, because where is he going to come out? He's got Tulki along with Curiel having their fight heading into the first corner. Is he going to beat them out there? He sees them go parallel. It's just going to be slightly behind there. He's not quite going to pip them out. And Imtiaz is at the bottom of the order now. New wing intact, but still the confidence and the talent is going to be severely damaged.
He'll still be looking to push on and try and immediately get past Tulki, and Curiel as well would also like to quickly take the moment to mention, as we're at this stage of the race, we all wish Danny Van Ruiten, one of our reserve drivers, the best of luck in his recovery after suffering with a severe lung infection earlier this week. So hopefully we see him back racing here in PSGL F3 and also E-Series, as he will not be racing in that tomorrow, but you can catch that still tomorrow at 7 p.m.
Yep, and of course plenty of racing around the PSGL grid. Console on the Monday and then PCTs on the Thursday alongside E-Series, and much more to come. But for now, Ice firmly trained on PCF3, and it's going to be an absolutely electric field as the mid-pack and the lower half is going to continue squabbling. Simeone is going to try and keep that gap close to Donovan as we are now a quarter of a way through the race. Things have seen a bit of relative stability now, but drivers are now just looking to set up potential moves to either hold themselves in the right position until it's time to strike, or see where they can goad each other and goad their opponents into a mistake.
Indeed. So that's the game right now being played by the 16 drivers in this field. As we come over the line once again, Donovan's going to be really close this time around to the race lead. He is going to try and get involved in this battle. He's going to be past the Red Bull. Can he also get past the Haas? And will the road open up for the Aston Martin driver as Linus Donovan moves into the lead? And yes, he gets by on both of them. Got ahead of Elikes, gets ahead of Zorzo on the exit. So brilliant stuff from Donovan as those medium compound tires start to go on the push, and immediately Sammy Simeone will also want to go on the attack, as he will know that he wants to stay with Linus Donovan at this stage of the race.
We've got a couple of shifts around the field as well. So remember, Justin, he didn't get to qualify. He did not get a chance to put his car on the grid and to be able to show his stuff there. But he is going to be out there now, and he's going to be up in P11. So a strong performance from him to be able to make his way up and to make the best out of a poor situation. Unfortunately, the external factors and travel meant that he could not make qualifying, but he is going to be here and he's going to be ready to give it his all, give it maximum push and maximum fight, heading into the rest of this race. As is Simeone, Alekos going very defensive on the inside, heading down into the first corner. He's going to be almost boxed in, has to go a little bit deep there to prevent a collision on the back of the Haas. He's going to bump wheels a little bit there with the Red Bull as they head into turn 3 now, and is going to be asserting himself into the podium position. A very strong move, getting the elbows out just enough to get that dominant spot. And the inside line ultimately is what's going to take it here.
Super stuff. On the outside line for Sammy Simeone. And yes, you could immediately tell when Donovan made the move on both of them that Simeone would have wanted to go on the charge and also start taking places. And he's done exactly that. And now he will also, in the battle with Diego Zorza, we're on board with Laminin. We talked a lot about him also being a contender in this one, and a driver to keep an eye on, and he's currently in 5th, absolutely also involved in the scrap with the medium compound runners. If we look further back, you've got Carraro making the move, and he's got past Gruber as well. So the F5 championship leader promoted up straight up to F3 has made the move as he now replaces Gabriel Quintino in that Aston Martin as we come over the line, and the order for the drivers at the front still, as they were behind though, all still changing as Debecourt ahead of Sasha Neeb. You've got Justin Ayertz ahead of Zach Miles, and also Biega ahead of Ranieri, those two continuing their battle.
Jose Cavero putting on a very, very strong first impression and really earning his keep in that Aston Martin right now. P6 holding firm and putting the other racers around him through their paces as he's held a confident P6 thus far. You see a little bit of squabbling at the back end as Tulki and Imtiaz both are going to be very close and very much in contention with each other. I wonder if these two are going to get a little bit rough and rowdy, considering the chip on the shoulder that they're going to have for one another following that turn 1 incident. Hopefully they keep it under reins and they keep it civil, but we're not going to put it past them. As, of course, a race-ruining incident like that, you're gonna be frustrated. And in the heat of the race, it manifests in some, we'll call them entertaining ways.
Yeah, absolutely. As we take a look at some more entertaining fights as well that are also going to play out. Now, Zorzo had a look at Donovan. Does it open the door for Simeone, who is loving that outside part of the circuit? Looking behind. Also, we see Laminin trying to go on the attack. Can he go to the outside? He would have wanted the inside momentarily. And there wasn't any room given by the Red Bull to get to that part of the circuit. But yeah, my eyes at the same time while enjoying this battle are definitely glued to see when Tulki and Imtiaz could be going side by side. It might need to wait because Tulki's just got himself ahead, and also Imtiaz is going to move through. So Curiel is down 2 places now. It's Tulki and Imtiaz is going to have DRS with Tulki all out of shape, and it could open the door for Imtiaz, and let's hope these two keep it clean. But as you mentioned, Tappy, there will definitely be frustration. They know that they have opened the door massively for Zorzo to take a big chunk in the championship in terms of the lead. So let's see how these two will get on the circuit. And directly in front of them, 25 seconds in front of them right now is this battle with Biega just ahead of Ranieri, who looks to complete his first PSGL race.
And we got a little bit of a gap here, but Brunelli is going to head into the pits and is going to be getting a speeding penalty, just missing out on that pit limiter. So he is going to be slapped by the stewards down for that one. And that could be a death sentence to his racing efforts, because of course he's going to lose the time, or at least some of the time, to the other 3 who are much further down on the hards. And while he will emerge in a good position, and Tulki along with Imtiaz are going to be swapping themselves, is only going to be 6.5 seconds away. So Renelli, by all accounts, is in last place thanks to that penalty.
Absolutely, that's the situation that he finds himself in at this stage. As we take a look back at this train and we take a look back at Simeone getting some incredible traction as he tries to make his way through as well, and he'll get a huge opportunity. Through the banking we go with the kicks out, but getting closer and closer on the run towards turn 1 in a few moments time. Zorza could also be close to move on Donovan, and it's going to get super tight into the first turn. Can the Haas go the long way around, or will both of them open the door for Simeone to take the place? And Simeone is going to get his power down, and he's going to be in second position, and they were both trying to put the pressure on for first, but that's the situation that we find ourselves in at this stage. Lap 15 of this one. Donovan, Simeone, and Zorzo, the top 3.
Looking absolutely rapid. Simeone is really leveraging the most out of those medium tyres. And it makes me wonder when the soft runners are going to be heading in. Of course, they've been using those softs now for almost 15, 16 coming on laps. So they will have to make that judgment call soon about whether to head off of the red walls and on to the yellows for the rest of the race. We'll be coming up to that window very, very soon. But we'll, of course, have to judge what the racers do. Simeone with a bit of a mistake there, kicking the rear out as we head into the final sector, up into turn 10 and 11. He's going to have to gain his composure back, and this is something that is going to separate the great from the good. It's having the ability to cool the jets, to know when you're at your limit, and to dial back. Not let frustration get to you, but Zorzo's going to be hit with a penalty as well. He takes it too far into the pit lane, and all of a sudden, all 3 of our championship leaders are going to be hit with some kind of upset.
Well, we mentioned Thomas Laminin as well. We mentioned him possibly being someone to keep an eye on. And too fast into the pit lane for Diego Zorzo. And when you thought it was going all perfectly for him, having both of his championship rivals making contact off the line and at the back, he might be joining them as well near the back. That is going to be a big moment. And he's not going to be getting the gain that he would have wanted, as we're on board with our pole sitter from Qatar, and Simeone has scored points in the last 3 rounds, so looking now to make it 4 in a row. But he won't only want that, he will want his first podium of the season, and if he can do it on the top step, that will be absolutely brilliant. But you can see he's trying to execute everything out of that tyre. He's pushing right to the edge. We've seen many snaps over the last few laps by the Kick Cyberman.
Yeah, of course, feeling the pressure and feeling the need to go aggressive here. Of course, being very careful of the pit limiter. You can see Booba taking it a little bit safer, not wanting to chance it and make the same mistake that the rest of the field has done. He's probably asking himself, is it worth it for a couple of milliseconds to push that speed by a couple of hundredths? And into that sort of danger zone. He's decided not. He's played it safe. He lives to fight another day, and he's going to be jumping out on a fresh set of medium tyres. So now the entire field is running mediums, but those top 7 drivers are going to have to come in at some point soon. The mediums have got plenty of life, but they'll want to be on the softs because ultimately they are the faster tyre.
Yeah, absolutely. They are indeed the faster compound of tyres, so that's what they will absolutely want to be on in the final stages of this race. So you of course got the net battle going on from 8th downwards for the lead, with Zorzo, as we've already mentioned, does have a penalty as well of 10 seconds. Debacor has got himself into the mix in 10th as well. As we take a look right now at Thomas Laminin, and he's going to see the drivers that are continuing out there who started on the mediums switch positions. Through goes the Aston Martin of Donovan into Tarzan corner, into the race lead for him as well. So right now, a very interesting part of the race as we go to half race distance, as Diego Zorzo takes the net lead at this stage with the fastest lap. But a big moment in this championship battle as well. We were possibly looking at him gaining a lot of points over his rivals, as we mentioned. Instead, it might just be equalized now with that time penalty, and maybe even all 3 might leave this round with all of them, bar of course Tulki getting that 1 point for pole, not scoring at all in the race.
Yeah, and that's the reality that all 3 of them are going to have to face here. Remember, top 10 are the only points paying positions, and if you get fastest lap, if you're not in the top 10, you don't get the point. So the only single addition to that championship top 3 could very well be Tulki's pole position in qualifying. And they need to be ready for that kind of reality. So Zorzo in particular, he's going to be under some immense pressure because he knows, regardless of what he does here, if he doesn't gain a 10-second gap between himself and last place, he's going to be out of luck. Luckily, everyone ahead of him is going to be on their original set of tyres. So he's got a bit of a saving grace in the form of everyone else eventually having to go in for their stop.
Yes, that is right now exactly what's taking place, as we're on board with the Williams driver Sasha Neeb, who is performing quite well right now in this train with all of these medium runners still yet to make a pit stop, as Imtiaz and Tulki continue their battle at the back as they switch positions, and Imtiaz back ahead of Lari Tulki. So those two still going at it, but respectfully is the good way that they're doing it, which is what we absolutely love to see between those two as well. Of course, both part of the F3R team, and so is Diego Zorzo, who is been given that time penalty. So all of our title contenders part of that esports team as well. And we now look back as we come over the line to see what changes we're going to get in the order. And first of all, it's going to be Donovan moving through. I think Sasha Nebel's also close to a move, and it's going to be tight as we look further back between the Aston Martin, between the Williams, and it's going to be Carrero who is going to be losing out there to Sasha Nebe, and he's up to 4th place.
A solid tactical move there from the Williams. They went side by side coming out of turn 1, closed the gap with the DRS, and a little bit of battery deploy, and then managed to lock in through an optimal line with turn 3. So solid moves there from Neeb. He's got himself up into 4th place. Cavero is not out of the fight just yet. He's keeping a really good proximity here, but is going to use a little bit of the tow just to be able to recharge some resource and get himself into a more stable position before he can fight again. He's not got any rearward pressure because Zach Miles is completely marooned on this track. He's got 3.5 seconds away, and then 8 seconds behind is going to be Biega, who himself is under some serious pressure as Zorzo has managed to go for the move and be able to lock in a solid spot. He's just missed out on the DRS, unfortunately, but Alekes is going to go one further, and you just see behind the Haas here, he's going to make it work against the other cars and get himself into P8 through that 3rd sector. Seriously impressive runs there. Cavero is going to take the shot and head into the pits here following the demotion into P5, and I think he's made that judgment call that now he's going to be on the chasing effort. He might as well jump into the pits and save some time, hope that he can come out in clean air.
It's exactly going to be the strategy they will all be hoping for as well, but these drivers that we're currently watching are going to be trying to immediately go on the push on the Red Bull compound of tyres that they'll want to go on the charge with, and those Red Bull which they hope will lead them to the race victory. They of course stuck with them when the others were on the softs, but they want to be the ones on the charge near the final stages, and it's going to be an interesting and fascinating way to see how this one is going to play out when we do get to it. Right now, they're all just trying execute this race to perfection, keeping it running, keeping it pointing in a straight line, and now they're all going to dive it in to the pit lane as well. That is going to be contact between Laminin and Donovan, and Laminin super late at the brakes, coming in and into the back of the Aston Martin.
I think he got super lucky there because there's no visual damage to his wing. I think he just about managed to make it clean and without any lasting damage requiring a replacement. So going to be a little bit of a close call for the McLaren. And like we said, he knows how to get his elbows out and he's not afraid to. But that would maybe be a little bit of a bad opportunity to do so, heading right into the pit lane there. We've seen some cheeky moves heading into the pit lane, don't get me wrong. But cutting it too fine with the pit entrance and to activate the limiter like that, it can lend you, as we've seen with Rene Curio and race leader Zorzo, it can lead you into problems. Better to play it safe.
Definitely not worth the risk as well when it comes to that, and that is definitely something to consider. Another thing right now that we need to consider, net leader on the softs, pitting a lap earlier, we have Carrera, so he'll be the first one going on the attack, going on the charge, and he'll be bringing Simeone and Donovan and also Laminin as well with him. And you can see Carrero is just seeing the next two cars in front. Zelekes gets ahead of Zorzo, but now this is when the soft charge is going to start with the fastest lap now belonging to Carrero. Here we go. This is when the race will start to get quite a lot interesting as these guys battle amongst themselves, but also have a challenge coming still later on.
This is going to be where the drivers now decide how they want to play this race out. They're on their tyres that are going to take them to the end. They've got to assess their situation. They've got to be very careful about what they do next. And in the case of Cavero, this is a driver on a mission. He's seen the opportunity that lies ahead. This is his first impression, and he's already put down an amazing opener. On the soft tyres, he could stand to make some serious ground. You can see he's already closed in entire second nearly the likes of Justin, who has also, I have to point out, had an exceptional race weekend, starting in P16, currently sat in P5, and even if that does get displaced into P6, that's still, I think, the highest position gain of the race thus far. We see the front two continue to trade up, but we also have Cavero, who is hot on the heels of the rest of the field, as Cavero makes it a double. He's just happy with Justin, but Buba is going to be challenging alongside, and those two are going to take a bit of a trade. So Buba's going to be down, Cavero's going to be up, and he's in P4.
Absolutely brilliant stuff. And now, Simeone is getting stuck. Simeone is stuck at the part of the circuit where he wouldn't want to be stuck. And you can see he was attempting a move around the outside at a part of the circuit where they need to be going single file. Now an opportunity could be for the driver that's known for being late on the brakes. He's about to prove it once again. Sends it in. He needs to try and stick with Carrera at this stage. Also, Donovan is going to try and get through. This is where you get moves absolutely everywhere. And Donovan wasn't able to execute it in the fastest way possible. And now Laminen's going to be waiting for his opportunity as well. So Laminen's going to try and get through immediately. And this is where they all try and find a way by, and Carrera still will be giving DRS to Justin Ayerts, but Simeone will be using the battery, will be deploying it down this straight as he also tries to make the move. And now we're on board with the McLaren off Laminen, who's got plenty of the battery to use as we come over the line. So he'll be making the move, he'll be dishing out the overtake as we head down to the braking zone. It's going to get tight as Simeone makes the move on Ayerts, and also we're going to see the Aston Martin of Donovan get the power down, and he moves up to 6th.
Yeah, so keep an eye on this mid-pack for sure, while the continued fight at the front is a very much back and forth trading affair, and they're setting up for the final lap to see who will be able to take that swing and hold it towards the end. This mid-pack is looking absolutely feisty. We've got Laminen on the back of it and continuing to put that serious pressure on. They've got those arguably prime soft tyres, and they're very much going to leverage them heading into that second sector here through turns 8 and 9 now. He is going to use that lateral grip to full advantage and push that McLaren all the way through up into P7 now, chasing hard on Donovan, who himself is on the back of Simeone. So all of these different fights, all of these different narratives are going to play out in real time. Cavero leads this queue and hasn't got the DRS to help him out, but he's got the pace and the wherewithal to see about making that gap a little bit smaller. You can see just in the distance as well, Alekis and Zorzo continue to trade, but with about 10 laps to go, they're going to have to start thinking about their final positions and who needs to be where in order for the final execute.
This is going to be Diego Zorzo, absolutely frustrated with this one. Had he just been a little bit more careful coming into that pit lane, this would have been a proper fight, a proper battle for him as well, but instead he's going to find himself dropping behind all of these runners, and of course a lot of soft runners that are also coming in. So it's going to be Diego Zorzo who might be able to get a point or two that will get him ahead of Imtiaz by a single point, but that will be disappointing considering you've got Imtiaz in 14, Tulki in 15. When we had that race start, it looked like he was going to be in redemption for where he lost all of his points in the championship earlier this year in Canada, or he basically was going to have a huge advantage in this championship battle. But he found himself having a disconnection. It brought the championship battle back alive, and we thought that Zorza would take a huge chunk out of the championship battle once more, but instead with the penalty he will be dropping behind. But he is still going to fight, he is still going to prove that he can do it on the circuit. We're battling now between the soft runners as well, and that's Cavero who is being passed, and now Donovan has got his new teammate to the side and now behind as Donovan makes the move, and so does Simeone. So it's 4th, 5th and 6th that have changed, and Laminen will also want to go on the attack as all of these drivers continue to push on as they try to get close to the top 3. Laminen trying to pull alongside, but he'll be wanting to sit behind with this part of the track.
Yeah, so Laminen again going very aggressive, wanting to assert that pressure and really put him under the microscope to make him know full well that every move that he makes is going to be under some serious scrutiny, and even the slightest hint of a mistake, Laminen's going to be right there to lap up that time and get himself into P6 where Cavero currently stands. But Linus Donovan, who is, reminder, say teammates, and they are, of course, individual drivers. As much as they are teammates in constructor's sense, the team tag is going to be more, if anything, than the actual constructors that they play on track. But I can't help but imagine it's almost a little bit of a playful jab at Cavero. It's Donovan going out there and saying, right, you're my teammate, let's see if you can handle the pace. You know who you replaced, so let's see what you can really do. And it's always a little bit of fun to see teammates, regardless of how seriously they value that relationship, pushing each other and driving forward. As the front continues to squabble, the mid-pack once again proven itself to be the epicenter of the action. Though saying that, Derbicore is getting dangerously close to this fight with Zorzo and Alekis, so I'd watch this space.
Yeah, Absolutely. And as Laminin does now continue the battle with Carrero, who I believe has had a major mistake. Had a major mistake to drop 1.2 seconds. But yeah, we don't of course know how much of a relationship or friendship and how much Laminin and Carrero talk as well off the circuit. Usually you'd get drivers who pick their teammates. So most of the time for the drivers to start the campaign, yeah, they would know who they're with. They would have picked that teammate as well. And it means that most likely they would get on well, as we see more battling at the front. But just purely for the fact of he had a 58-point lead, he was put into that tier. And with Quintana being promoted up, it was a perfect combination for him to be put to a full-time drive in this tier as well. But Carrero definitely one to watch for the future, as he's already proving it right now. But of course he did just have, it looks like, a big moment which has dropped him massively behind the other soft runners.
I can imagine the pressure maybe getting to him, and Laminin, of course, showing that experience and that honed racecraft to a T by this point. He's got the pace and the wherewithal to leverage that pace in some fighting moves, and his driving style commands respect in a way. He has to let you know that, say, the drivers are going to be where they're going to keep their whereabouts. We do have a brief local yellow. That's going to be for Zach Miles. Looks like he went off the track, but didn't suffer any major damage. So only a brief waving of flag by the stewards. As you see, Sasha Neeb, once a very strong starter, is now sat here with half a front wing missing and dropping down the pace significantly. So maybe he was the cause of the local yellow.
Definitely could have been. Carrera drops down. Drew goes booban into the wall. Sasha Neeb losing more of his front wing. Lucky to keep the tyres attached, and that might even be a retirement when he comes into the pit lane as well. Might become our first retirement unless he wants to continue on and just end this.
He's committed. Looks like he's committed here.
Absolutely. It did look like when he went into the wall in that style that he might possibly be retiring, but no, he's going to be committed. He'll be finishing out the stint, and yes, always fantastic to see every driver that comes into the round finishing it as well. We've got 16 runners still as it stands in this one, and now, Sappy, we've got Simeone, Donovan, and Laminin, the runners on the soft compound tyres there, and they will immediately put that to use, because you can see pushing right now Elekes through the banking is Simeone, and Donovan's going to try and get through very shortly as well as we come over the line. So we're going to have a few moves going on here. That's Zorzo getting ahead of Debacore. That's Simeone getting past one. Can he go down the outside of two? Can he use the grip of the soft carbon tires to get himself ahead of Tristan Debacore? Debacore's going to stay ahead for the moment, and Elekes just ahead of Donovan.
It's fast, it's furious, it's aggressive. It's Simeone really pushing his driving to the limit here, as Debacore is next in his crosshairs, and while he couldn't make it a double heading into the first corner, he's certainly made that early statement. He's seen a little bit of chaos happening behind him as well. We saw a bit of carbon flying off. It's tough to determine whose end plate that actually was, but we'll of course see that in a moment, as we may see a driver who starts to drop down. Looks like it might be Elekes, because Laminin has just made quick work of him through there. Actually, no, I think it's Donovan. Yeah, Donovan is the one who's missing his right end plate on his wing, but he's still holding strong pace. A real testament to those softs, and a testament to him being able to keep the driving going despite his car not necessarily being a fully stable platform underneath him. Regardless though, Simeone on the back of Debacore and Zorzo. These two are going to continue to trade, but with 5 laps to go, the pressure is on. These front two on the mediums, they're going to have a little bit of a challenge now.
Debacore wants to get through as well. Now let's see whether Sammy Simeone can get the power down. Side by side we go. Laminin tries to get ahead of Donovan, who will be frustrated to lose his front wing. It's getting hyper-aggressive stuff now. The McLaren the long way around. The McLaren through. Zorzo still, of course, has a 10-second time penalty to be applied. We've still got a few more laps to go in this one, and you can see they're all together. They're all together on this circuit. And Zorzo and Debacore both dueling down to Tarzan corner at turn number 1. They were both completely on the attack. They both wanted to keep the lead as we make our way then onto this back straight. Sasha Neeb sets the fastest lap, and that will definitely be something that he will enjoy, setting the fastest lap of the race as he continues to push on. Great determination from him there, and look at them all pushing each other, and now the order is all going to change, Sappy, as we'll head on to the start-finish straight.
It's going to change lap on lap, and the drivers are going to continue to test each other. The real measure is going to be who's in the right place at the right time as we end lap 35 and head into 36. We see Zorzo going a bit more aggressive here. Simeone is going to echo that sentiment. Laminen going down the inside of Derbacourt, and they're going to be 2 by 2. Noah's Ark will be proud as we head through turn 1 and then into turns 2 and 3. Laminen's going to take the move on Derbacourt. Simeone is going to slot in just behind the Haas. And you've got to remember with this as well, whichever the drivers end up positioning in, Zorzo is effectively out the running. That's going to be Donovan into the grass as Derbacourt going seriously aggressive on the defense through the first sector, holding it together regardless. And a serious fight is starting to brew without a real major prompt needed. The drivers are now just fighting all out. You can see the desperation in some of them as they just want the positions, they want the spots, and they need to get further up unless they want to get overtaken by DRS in the final lap and be left out to dry.
True moment of brinkmanship through some of those corners after a crazy lap of battling, which is about to continue right now as we go over the line. Laminin wants to be able to get to victory. You've got Zorzo just staying ahead for the moment. Here we go then, all of them battling down to Tarzan corner, and we're looking further back. We're seeing a possible look to the inside by Elkaz in the Red Bull, who was trying to get ahead of Donovan, but he wasn't able to do it. Still, Donovan doing absolutely well with that damaged car slightly as well with the end plate. He is still pushing on, and as you mentioned, showing how good the soft competitive tires are at this stage. But Sammy Simeone not putting the same level of confidence that he would have had a moment ago. It's 0.6 of a second, and Zorzo's trying to pull away. He does have that penalty still next to his name, and he's being pushed around by Laminin and Derbacourt at this stage.
So Zorzo is going to, at minimum, be dropped down to P10 at this point. He's got a lot of work to do, and he's just trying to get that gap out while he still can. He's trying to gap the non-points scorers as much as he can. He hasn't got the fastest lap anymore, and in fact, that's just been passed over the baton to Damien Curiel in P16, so no fastest lap point, but even just a single point will neutralize the advantage that Tulki got coming out of qualifying. You see Zorzo going very aggressive to the inside, trying to break any potential toe, any potential advantage that the rest of the field can get out of him. And you see Donovan along with Alekas, a little bit of a fight heading into that first corner. We're starting to see that pace waver a little bit for Linus, although he's going to go aggressive. He's going to spin himself heading into turn 3, aggressive on the inside. Cavero just about avoiding him there, along with Buba. He is going to be going down into P9, with Justin also taking the position for free.
Great avoiding work there from Carraro, as he is going to be able to finish ahead of his teammate. Here is Laminin, and Simeone is straight away onto the back of Diego Zorzo, who does have the penalty to his name, and you can see that they're all bunching up. They're all bunching up through this part of the circuit. Derbacourt will also be getting closer, and so will Elikes. So 5 cars all dueling for victory as we're about to go on to the final lap of the race here in Zandvoort. These exits are going to be critical. Yes, Simeone is going to get a great run on Zorzo, but he'll need to check his mirrors because Thomas Laminin is in behind. Zorzo does have a penalty that is still yet to be applied, so it's all going to be between these two drivers and possibly Derbacourt and Belint Elikes, who are going to get themselves in the mix as well. Here we go for the lead now. Sammy Simeone moves through, under braking, takes the lead. Can Thomas Laminin go the long way around? This is critical for his race. He needs to stay with Sammy Simeone, and he's prepared to go the long way around. He's lost a few tenths to Simeone, but he's got through up to second place.
Simeone is the driver to beat here. He's been patient, he's held his own, and throughout this entire lap and the entire race, he's been just biding his time, making those decisive moves, moving up as of when he needs to. We've seen some great charges up to the front. Justin making up 8 positions, Derbacourt making it up 7 as well, and Laminin and Simeone being another 2 highlights to add to that tally. But we can see the kick Sauber on the defensive now. Laminin is going to bank it all, I think, on that final DRS. He's going to bank it through the last corner. He needs to get that close proximity, and he knows what's at stake. After 36 laps, it all comes down potentially to a single corner. They're both locked in. They need to make this happen. Laminen with a good run. Simeone is going to push that. Here comes the McLaren. It's going to be very close. He's got the speed. He's got the power. And down to the line at the final second, Laminen takes it all.
Absolutely unbelievable stuff. Thomas Laminen waiting right to the last second to take the win by a 10th of a second at the end. And he just had the battery. And Thomas Laminen, what a performance for the driver 6 in the championship. Second, last time out, upgrades it to the win. And at a moment where he needed it, he is now going to put himself in contention for this championship with Zorzo in 10th, with Imtiaz all the way at the back along with Tulki as well. We had Laminen with a performance when required, as Curiel and Imtiaz will battle all the way till the end with Curiel on the soft as well. So this could be another drag race to the line, not for any points, just for pride at this stage, with the Kickstarter getting closer and closer. Let's see whether we can get ahead or raise Imtiaz in a day to forget for him. It's close over the line, but it's going to be Imtiaz as well who takes it. But what a performance from Laminen. Absolutely brilliant by him.
I'll say that got intense to the point where my voice completely broke there, but a 10th isn't even the gap. It's 0.088. That's how much split them, and that is a minute margin to hold. I said it at the start, but don't sleep on Laminen. He's got the pace and the wherewithal to take those spots, and this time he's made it all link up. He's made it work. A second last time out, and is going to do one better here. Momentum carrying over very nicely, and a first position to add to his not strategy, but to his trophy cupboard, as a P7 start going to lend him to the top. Simeone is going to be a close second with less than a tenth splitting them, followed by Derbicourt about 0.8 of a second away. Alekes is going to be your first position outside of the podium, going equals 4-4, and then Buba along with Cavero, Justin, Zach, Linus, and Zorzo completing your top 10. So Zorzo just about squeezing a point, despite that penalty knocking him down a few pegs. Then you have Biega, Reneli, Tulki, Neeb, Imtiaz, and Curiel, who takes the fastest lap in the dying moments of the race, and no retirements as well, which is always a pleasant thing to see.
Always a pleasant thing to see indeed, but wow. Who would have expected that? When we had qualifying all title contenders together, we were all expecting a brilliant fight between all of them from start to finish. And we had two of them eliminate themselves at the start, Tulki and Imtiaz. Zorzo got a 10-second penalty, brought himself out of contention. And wow, that was absolutely incredible. And Thomas Laminen, what a drive by him to claim the win.
Yep, a solid drive, a brilliant run, and a quality race all across the board. Hopefully we get a chance to talk to our top 3, and we have a great opportunity to look into the drivers' different race strategies and how this all panned out, because the soft to medium strategy working well to start off with, but in the end it was a complete 180. And it was the soft runners who, in the end, say the medium to softs, taking it at the very end. Of course, you had Derbicourt doing a brilliant job of holding that strategy, the initial soft and then the medium, taking himself into P3. But unfortunately, you say Zorzo as well. That penalty was brutal for him, knocking him down from the top all the way down to the bottom. And I'm sure that's going to be a little bit of a deal breaker when it comes to the championship. However, he has got a little bit in his pocket, considering that the other two championship protagonists didn't really get any points either.
Yep, absolutely. So it is definitely a interesting round of PSGL where it all went wild, especially for the contenders. But at the front, you had different drivers getting to fire. Then great to see Laminen, first of all, picking up the win after the podium yesterday. And then also to be able to see Simeone battling for it. And Sammy Simeone, a driver who took pole earlier this season in Qatar, of course. Then we saw him just drop down and wasn't a contender. Finally, we were able to see him battle in race trim and race conditions at the front. Just brilliant. PSGL continues to deliver.
continues to impress and be at its finest here. But let's have a chat with some of our drivers. And in particular, we only have one interviewee today. It's going to be our race. And it's going to be Thomas Lamminen. And we're going to have a chat with him now. Let's bring him in. And Lamminen, can you hear us in the commentary box?
Yes, I can.
Welcome, welcome. I've got to say, seriously impressive race out there. Well done on your performance. Coming up from P7 in quali and making it work in the race. So my first question to you is, well, how are you feeling?
Really good. Was like a really good race, a clean one. No, surprising for this year. But yeah, it was a good race and I feel good.
Certainly a race to remember there. And I have to ask, so coming out of Silverstone and coming out of the strong performance out there, if I remember correctly, you did manage to squeeze out a second place. What were your expectations heading into Zandvoort?
I think in the last games, Zandvoort hasn't been really my strongest track. But tonight my pace was like, for this week, my pace in practice was really good. And I was feeling like pretty confident that I can get like a maybe even top 3 in qualifying and then a podium in the race. But I messed up qualifying and started P7 and yeah, then just carried on in the race really strong.
As they came out very strong in the race. Were there any points where you felt like you were under a particularly massive pressure, or were you sort of kept a cool head throughout?
Maybe in the first few laps when where we had to stay with the soft terrain when we were on the mediums. That was the only point. I was quite low on ERS and was maybe struggling a bit, but nothing insane.
And with that seriously strong finish, 16 points in your pocket, that's going to put you a little bit closer, in fact quite close to the top end of the championship, so within striking distance of course the main 3 up at the top end. So could we see potentially a champion out of you this season? How are you feeling in terms of confidence there?
Maybe, I don't know, depends really. What are the next tracks? I don't know about them. But it's Saudi Arabia that I feel confident. Japan maybe. Yeah, maybe like a top 3 in the championship, I hope.
Well, look forward to it, because you've certainly got the pace on tap, and these last 2 races have more than proved it. Any words from you, Omi?
Quickly, so would you say the run now you are on, of course, with the 6th place in Qatar, then a 6th place in Monaco, and now, of course, second here at, second at Silverstone, and then a first here as well. Do you think now you've managed to get a little bit of momentum going in this season, and do you think now, of course, as you know, with Jeddah coming up next, and you feel confident there, do you think you can continue up this run, and has this little run of getting multiple point finishes, has it helped you?
Yeah, for sure, it like increases my confidence and, you know, just generally, you know, I feel more motivated to practice for the races. So in that way I can get like better performances out of me.
Lovely stuff. Well, we did mention, of course, to keep an eye on you today, and well, it went all the way down to the line and you were able to take it with a bit of extra battery and the DRS as well. Brilliant performance, and hopefully we're able to speak to you more in the commentary box throughout the season.
Yes, I hope so too. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Thomas, and we'll see you, of course, round out. That, ladies and gentlemen, that was Thomas Lamminen, and that is going to be where we wrap things up for the time being. Of course, we have plenty of races left to look forward to, and a solid roster of tracks that we can also be excited for as well. So next time, it is going to be, if we jump quickly over to take a look at this calendar, it's going to be a good one. It's going to be Saudi Arabia It's going to be the Jeddah Corniche circuit, a race that never fails to impress when it comes to league racing. And of course, you can catch us both here for it same time next week before the festive break. That's just a little preview of what you can expect here, but this is where we are going to sign up here. So don't go anywhere, folks, because after this broadcast, you're going to be directly redirected over to F2, where the race is getting underway as we speak. But that's going to be all from us for now. Have a very pleasant evening. We'll see you next week for Saudi Arabia. Do join us in F2. Otherwise, we'll see you later. Goodbye for now, everyone. Have a good night.